I'm going to do a part two to the struggles of the male INFJ. The last time I did this in part one, I was actually in a hospital, Johnny. I had a small procedure done, very minor, but I was not quite with my whole self. But I did notice that it had a little bit more support than some of the other ones. So actually, it had very good support. So I think there's some need, or there's there's actually men out there that want to hear this kind of advice. And being that I think I have a little bit of a background in this kind of thing, so can you figure out why? Well, anyway, so we're going to talk about this again. So the male INFJ and some of the struggles we've had. As I touched on before on my first video, and I brought up that we had a rough childhood and that we were always being we were overly sensitive as children. If you remember right, well, I know this is my fact, okay? I can only base it on some of my experiences, and just knowing that at times in our life, especially at an early age, when we didn't know that being sensitive was not something in the character for the most part for a boy. Boys are typically more, emotionless, or a little more on the the stereotypical boy side, where they didn't really feel emotion. They weren't as protective. They were supposed to be a little meaner. We grew up in that era where it was just supposed to be boys were rough and tumble. Well, I was that. I mean, I was kind of the rough and tumble boy. I mean, I would play. I playing regular normal things. I did sports. I was rough in that way. But of course, it was always that little bit of an emotional side, that little bit of that nurturing side, of that wanted to protect themselves, or maybe felt the empathy. Maybe a lot of times, just to think about it, I mean, maybe some of our sensitivity also was the fact that, whether we knew it or not, we were picking up on emotions that we didn't really understand anything about it at the time. We weren't even developed. So a lot of times, maybe early on, picking up on those emotions. And like I said before in the last video, we were stigmatized at a very early age as well. Once you showed the tears, once you showed that sensitivity, that vulnerability, with your friend group, you had that automatic, you were tainted. You were, right away, you were called a lot of names, a lot of slurs were going out there, and you never quite got the respect from your friends. Maybe early on, you drifted away from a lot of friend groups. You had to, you might have had a circle of friends, and then they found out, they kind of saw that side of you. You couldn't help it at some times, or perhaps they always saw through. So maybe you stopped hanging around with that friend group and you went to another friend group. Maybe it happened there. So you might have bounced around. There might have been one or two of your good friends that saw through that and stuck through with you anyway, because they were there. But that was some of the struggles I know I've had, and even with my brothers. Now I'm the youngest out of 5 boys, so I had 4 older brothers. And I know that my older brothers used to give me everything. Kind of went right down the pecking order. I mean, all the stuff my oldest brothers were doing to the middle brothers, and to the second middle one, to me, I was like the last one in the chain. So I got it pretty much from all of them. Now, after saying that, I can honestly say that there were many struggles, and of course there was always that. Like I said, there was always the stigma that you were sensitive, that you cried easy, that you were a little bit effeminate. And now there's a lot of the videos, and a lot of times they say that this was some of the struggles that we had, especially with our fathers and some of the older ones. I do remember, I can say on a personal level, that I knew that I had a sense that my father, he didn't live very long, and but I knew that he had some concerns. He used to just, there were certain concerns he had. In fact, even though I didn't spend a lot of time with him, I think my father I don't think he thought anything about me, but he just knew that from some of the ways he used to talk to me, some of the ways he used to bring things up, that he didn't think I was, like as masculine as my other brothers. And I kind of sensed that, and I always felt like he never really thought I was as good as them. But that was just me. That was my thing. I mean, things you just have to go through your childhood. And these are just another one of the struggles. Feeling like that your own parents, your own father, your own brothers think lower of you because of the sensitivity and always having that stigma and always feeling you're never good enough, never feeling you don't chop up, add up to everything else or anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that was some of our struggles growing up. So, but as I said before in the other video, these are pretty much repeats of it. So I'm just kind of rehashing some of the things. And of course, the relationships, the girlfriend troubles. I mean, we had issues with girlfriends. I know I did. It wasn't until I was in my mid 20s, I seemed to have bloomed. Now, it's even a common thing. They say that a lot of INFJs, especially I think the boys, we develop a little later. We reach our maturity level at a later time, when typical boys are starting to date around 16, 15, 17 years old. I was still kind of like, searching. I never could hold down the girlfriend. But it wasn't, I'd say, until maybe my early mid 20s that I bloomed, so as far as physically, as far as emotionally, as far as hormonally. And I had a string of girlfriends from the time I was maybe, late 20s, early 20s to my maybe almost into my early 40s, late 30s, 40s. So then I had a series of relationships. And like I stated before, never really lasting long. So, but I think I expressed that some of the relationship woes that we've had in other videos, how, with especially with me or with INFJs in particular, we have a hard time dealing with relationships because of the emotional side that goes along with it. There's a whole other video on that. But yeah, as far as the men go, yes, we've had it rough. Now, here's something I want to say to some of the younger men out there, younger men INFJs that maybe are finding this out, or maybe you're hearing this video and you don't know, but you're experiencing some of these things. Now, your condition may, at a younger age, you're developing, you're trying to find yourself, and maybe you've had these stigmas through your life. You've been called certain things. Now you have a low opinion of yourself. Maybe you feel like you're not as good. You have low self-esteem, and so these are typical, especially. But if you find this out early, if you find out you have the INFJ trait and you have this sensitivity, just understand that as you develop as a man, as you develop as a man, mature man, okay, maybe not as mature as me, but you'll get there. There is stages to that. But as you develop, your sensitivity and your logic will start to be balanced. You should balance it should be. I know I did. I can't speak for all men and all their upbringings, but you should be almost predetermined, in a sense, to balance your feeling side to your logical side. So your FE and your IT at some point will begin to develop and merge. So you will have a balance almost. And maybe it's imbalanced now, maybe it is, maybe you're confused about it at this age. You reach a certain age, you're kind of questioning things because you're trying your hardest to be as masculine as you can. You're trying to be that. You're trying to fulfill a certain role for your peers. And you may be trying to go too hard at some point, too difficult, and maybe it's a strain on you because you're trying, and that's putting more emotional strain on you. That's putting more of a burden on you to prove yourself, to say, hey, I'm a man. I'm I don't have this sensitivity, although it's always bubbling up in there. It's always in the background. You try your best maybe to put a mask on and hide it. This is my issue, and you're always going to try to build that in. But eventually, it will be there. You're always going to have that. But this is what's going to define you as a man. Okay? Now, honestly, in my own standpoint, I can tell you that in who I am, and I just know this, that amongst other men that I know, I'm probably more of a man, masculine-wise, than most men that I know. More brave, I have more endurance as far as just longevity. And as far as fear and things like that, I've noticed that other men don't quite measure up to the standard men because they didn't quite have to prove themselves. They didn't have to reach. They were already established because of the fact that we think that we're lacking in that department and we're trying to better ourselves, fine tune ourselves, that sensitive side, that FE side, which is your feeling side, is going to define you as a better man, because we're supposed to have a bit of empathy. We're supposed to have compassion as human beings. Has to be a level of that. It can't be imbalanced. So that level is going to be more of a balance. But your logical side, at least with me, I know my logical side developed as well. I mean, when I think and fine tune something, I'm able to segregate my FE from my IT. So, I mean, there is a perfect balance where you can go between your logic and your emotion. And you can almost fine tune it. You know when you need to use your FE and when you need to use your IT. And so, just to let you know that as you mature, it'll just come natural almost, depending on what road you want to take, what your proclivities are. I knew I wanted to be who I was, and I knew in my mind that I was a straight, sound mind man, and so I developed that way, and I wanted it to be that way, and I thought, well, I just want it to come natural. Now, 60 years later, and I feel as though, eventually, this is when the INFJ actually reaches a point of almost like of completion in a way. Almost, I mean, I'm not saying like geriatric, but when your emotions, when your body, when your physicality, when your wisdom, when everything starts to align, you will start to understand that, where you are as a man. And it should be as natural as the pure driven snow. So anyway, so for you younger men out there, maybe there's not a lot of men INFJs on the channel. I've seen a couple, but sometimes they're more into comedy and things like that. There's one in particular. He's got well over 1 million views, and he does very funny comedian ones, 16 personalities, and there are a few. So you see them out there, but I haven't heard any really talking the way I am. So I'm trying to be that unique guy who's just going to address the male. Now, again, ladies are always welcome to these channels. They're welcome to these. I'm not excluding anybody or any ladies, but I specifically want to address the male because we're very rare. We're extremely rare. I mean, we are 0.5 to 0.8 of the percent of the population of the world. I mean, that's less than 1%. I mean, that is scarcely very rare. And because we're so rare, the ones that are out there that are willing to communicate and willing to come out here and try to give some advice and try to just throw some encouragement to the younger male INFJs, I'm willing to do that, and I want to be that guy. But yeah, so these are some of our struggles, and a lot of it could be career advice too. A lot of these particular advices all talk about a career. Now, also, for you men, the younger men, as far as a career goes, you have to really follow what it is you want to do. Now, I say this to everybody. This isn't strictly an INFJ thing. I believe in my heart that each and every person, each and every one of us has a unique and individual talent that actually is something that we're good at, very good at. Now, some of us are really good with our mind. We're good with math and calculations and geographics. I mean, we're good with that, and we can translate them into structures. I mean, so they make really good, like, let's say, your architects and things like that. Some are very good with their hands. They're very good with fine, intricate motor skills, and they're good with their hands, and they're good for building. And some of them are just good with philosophy, maybe doctoring, with medicine. So there's a certain talent that we all have. Even arts and music. There could be a musical talent. Maybe you have a great voice. Maybe you're good at musical instruments. So there is something out there. There is a talent that you possess that is individual to you. And I want to encourage you. Find out what that is. At a young age, really go for that. Myself, I was a blue collar worker for most of my life. I had some motivation, or I had some attempts to go into, let's say, being a lead singer in a rock band. There were a couple of times where I had an opportunity, but I didn't trust myself only because I kept thinking I'd end up like these other singers that ended up getting getting too caught up in their lifestyle and dying at a young age. So that was in the back of my mind. I knew my proclivities. I thought I'd be that guy. So I don't want to go down that. Maybe it was a good thing at the time, but I do have a pretty good singing voice. But I thought, you know what? I just didn't want to pursue that. So I stuck to blue collar work. But I'm at a calling now where at this point in my life, the YouTube channel that I'm trying to start is now something that I want to reach out for. I feel as though this is part of my calling is to reach out to the younger INFJs and hope that my influence, my input, just helps them along. I mean, I feel as though my experience and my wisdom in this personality type, especially not knowing it until just recently in the last 3 or 4 years, uh, I think it would help because since I found this out, and that's another thing, since I discovered the MBTI, since I discovered who I was and discovered my type, then it helped me immensely discover who I was, and it steered me in a better direction. So anyway, to the men out there, I hope this helps. I will try to make an occasional, video based on just the male INFJ from time to time. They're all basically all about INFJs, but we're always you're always welcome, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be the voice for that. I'd like to be the voice for the man as well, for the male INFJ. We need more men out there. We need more masculine men, and we need good men. And the INFJ man, I know his heart is pure. I know his heart is good. If anything like the way my heart is, it may be hidden. It may have that rough exterior covering it up. It may have that really. It may not look it from the outside, but inside, I know it's a good heart. And you balance it with all the others as you mature, and you balance it with your logic, and you're probably the best man you're ever going to be. And you're going to be a better man than the rest of them. Trust me. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for attending. Please, please support my channel. Give me some thumbs up on this. I hope you stuck around to the end. And I usually throw this out there. I mean, I would like you to support my channel so that the algorithm will give this more opportunity to find more of our INFJs. And I'd like this to be a community. I'd like this to be a safe haven, something that you could turn to where you know that you're understood, where you have somebody who gets you out there, where you have somebody who understands where you're coming from. I'd like to be that guy. So anyway, guys, yeah, give me some thumbs up. Give me some support, please, and give me some support me. Subscribe to my channel. So anyway, thank you so much for attending, and I'm glad you stuck around. So until the next one, thank you. Have a great night.